In this unit, we examine a quiet habit of the universe, one a Dutch inventor first caught in the act from his sickbed in 1665. Hang 2 pendulum clocks on the same wall. Leave the room, come back in half an hour, and their swings will have fallen into perfect mirrored step. One arm sweeping left, exactly as the other sweeps right. And no one has touched them. It looks like coordination. It looks like something is conducting. There is no conductor, so what is the single rule that pulls independent rhythms into line, whether they are clocks, insects, or 1,000 pairs of walking feet? Part 1. The sympathy of 2 clocks. The Dutch inventor was Christiaan Huygens, the very man who had built the pendulum clock in the first place. Laid up ill with time on his hands, he kept 2 of his clocks hanging from a shared wooden beam. And he noticed something he could not explain. However he started them, the 2 pendulums always settled into the same rhythm, swinging exactly opposite one another, one left as the other went right. He would nudge one out of step by hand. Within half an hour, it came back. He gave it a lovely name. He called it the sympathy of 2 clocks. The cause was hiding in the beam. Each swing sent the faintest tremor through the shared wood, and each clock felt the other through it. Not a push you could see. A whisper of contact, and it was enough. Part 2. The rule. To see why, we need one plain word. An oscillator. It sounds grand. It is not. An oscillator is simply anything that keeps its own steady beat and returns to it. A pendulum, a heartbeat, a blinking cell. Left alone, each one just keeps its own time. Now the rule, and the whole unit rests on it. Take many oscillators, connect them even weakly so that each can nudge the other's timing by a hair. And they will tend to pull one another into a single shared beat. That is the entire mechanism. No blend, no leader. Weak contact and a drift towards step. It sounds like it should be delicate, the sort of thing that needs everything arranged just so. It is very nearly the opposite. Watch how little it takes. Part 3. A tree that flashes as one. We go to the riverbanks of Southeast Asia at night where certain fireflies gather in the thousands, and they do a thing that early travelers wrote home about and were not believed. A whole tree of them flashes on and off together, one great lantern, blinking as a single animal. There is no firefly in charge. Each insect carries its own small timer and flashes when that timer comes round. But each one also watches its neighbours and a neighbour's flash nudges its own timer a touch earlier or later, one firefly answering the next and the next answering back. Give it a few minutes and the whole restless random tree collapses into one beat. The rule, alive and flying. Part 4. The math that made it inevitable. For a long time this was a charming story with no equation under it. Then, in 1975, a Japanese physicist named Yoshiki Kuramoto sat down and wrote it out. A crowd of oscillators, each ticking at its own natural rate, each gently pulled toward the others, and he found a threshold. Below a certain strength of coupling, everyone keeps their own time and the whole is a mess. But raise the coupling past that line and something clicks. A block of them locks together, and the shared beat spreads outward until it swallows the rest. Sync was not a fluke of clocks or insects. It was what the arithmetic demanded, past a line you could point to, and you can set it on a kitchen table. Here we are fortunate to have a most obliging specimen. A row of metronomes stood side by side on a board. Start them by hand, each to its own careless beat, a clatter with no agreement in it. Then rest the board across 2 empty cans so it is free to roll by a hair. Walk away, come back to every arm swinging as one. The board you see is Huygens' beam. Part 5. The bridge that learned to walk. London, June 2000. A sleek new footbridge opens across the river, the first to be built there in over a century. Crowds pour onto it on the very first day, and the span begins to sway gently from side to side. So the walkers do the sensible thing. They adjust their footing to keep their balance, everyone leaning with the sway at the same moment, which pushes the bridge a little harder, which makes them adjust a little more. Crowd and bridge coupled, each feeding the other. The footbridge was 2 days old when they closed it. Now a scrupulous note because the bright student deserves one. Engineers are still refining exactly how much of that wobble was people falling into step, and how much was the bridge feeding its own motion. A reappraisal published in 2021 argues the sway can begin before the walkers ever sink. The precise share is still being settled, but the shape of it is not in doubt. Put a crowd and a springy span in light contact, and together they will negotiate a rhythm. Here is the part worth keeping. In every case we have watched, the contact was almost nothing. A tremor in a beam, a flash of light across a gap, a bridge swaying by the width of a finger, and in every case that thread of contact was enough. Give separate rhythms the faintest connection between them, and the natural end state is not chaos. It is step. The universe offered the smallest chance to keep time with itself takes it. And so we have learned that separate rhythms, once they can feel each other even faintly, seek each other out. That a shelf of pendulum clocks, a tree of fireflies, and a bridge full of well-dressed strangers are all quietly running the same one rule. Class dismissed. If you would like to watch order assemble itself from nothing again, our unit on how a single snowflake grows 6 matching arms with no plan and no center is waiting on the shelf.